Right? That's David Solomon. The purple screen. I know. I never could quite get that right. Every time we sort of try and figure that out, I always point to the wrong direction because I don't look before we start ranting. But you know what, guys? We've been doing this now. It'll be 2 years in about 60 days. 2 years we started this project. It came from both David and I having a lot of frustration listening to the media, not enjoying just one side of the story and the ignoring of many stories that we thought were pretty unique, and they weren't all political. And this is just such one of those things that somehow touches politics because it has to do with elections, but it has to do with your 16-year-old adolescent child on how much we have faith in their good decisions that they make. David, you just pulled this out of the news, and I'm just really interested to hear what exactly are they trying to pull now?
So it's not a pulling. Now it's interesting because New Zealand Supreme Court ruled that the country's voting age of 18 actually considered discriminatory. That the idea of it that it should just be 18, unconstitutional, call it whatever you want. That there's this whole case about going to 16. Now, who in the 2020 election had said, listen, I want to vote. I want to vote. And unfortunately, he couldn't because he was under the age. And so he sued the government and he's brought it to court. He's won. They've won. Now, realize something, that to change a voting law, regardless of where you are in the world, is, well, unless you're in, of course, some autocratic state, change law is a constitutional business. It seems to be that Jacinda, who's the Prime Minister of New Zealand, phenomenal leader, if you've ever done, she said, listen, it needs a 75% pass in the government to bring the law to 16. Now, that's cool. It's interesting. And I don't remember when they brought it from 21 to 18. But, the funny thing is, and I laugh about this, is that in Canada and the United States, we can carry a gun, we can vote, we just can't drink at 18. Can't understand that. So now we were talking about bringing the age of voting, a decision that is absolutely one of the most pivotal decisions you can make. And now we're letting 16-year-olds. Now, my challenge with 18 to 25-year-olds is they didn't vote very much. They talk a great game, and they don't vote very much. The other part of it is they live in a world that is very utopic. It's not real. They haven't lived life. And now, Stuart, and you have a 16-year-old. I don't have 16-year-olds anymore. Could you imagine your 16-year-old going to the ballot box and having to explain to them, first of all, go vote, and then how to vote? I don't know.
David, here is a cliche that I'm sure a lot of parents of 16, 15, and 17-year-olds are used to. Yes, Mom. Yes, Dad. Yes, Stuart. And then you wait an hour, whatever the yes was, it's still pending in the inbox as message unread. And that's the signal from, I would say, most, not all, most adolescent, teenage people. And to entrust people like that to make the right decisions, like casual Friday as casual Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which would, of course, would have been voted for by everyone if you went to a school that had a uniform. And, free lunch Monday would be free lunch Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I don't think that people at that age have the concept, nor do I believe their cortex, and for all those science guys and medical guys that we know, and girls, that do tune in every once in a while, will correct me yet again for the wrong part of the brain or human anatomy. But, David, I couldn't lobby more against this stupid idea. In fact, you know what? The argument is it's 18 years and older to vote, 18 years and older to join the Army or Navy or Marines, but 21 years old to drink. So there is a lot of hypocrisy. I trust you with a gun, son, but I don't trust you to have a bottle of booze. So there is a lot of stupidity in these rules. And the alcohol has to do with a medical reason, not a actual other physical reason, like you shouldn't drink because I don't think you should drink. Well, because the human brain supposedly doesn't mature enough until age 21 to handle the alcohol. Again, I'm not a doctor. Maybe one of our doctor friends will get back to us and PM us and correct how wrong we are. But to allow a 16-year-old to go and vote and help decide the fate of our country isn't unique to this situation. Way back when I was under the age of 18, was a member of a political party in Quebec under the Robert Baldwin area. Now, David, you live in the Robert Baldwin area. I don't know if it still exists. Does that riding still exist?
It still
So
does.
I was head, David, I know you're going to fall on your floor, the
Yeah.
liberal youth in the province of Quebec, which, if you know the province of Quebec, you really didn't have much choice. It was Parti Québécois or liberal in my day.
Correct.
And so, being the head of that riding, you were, basically brought to conclaves where we would meet the leadership of the Liberal Party to help determine the path in which the Liberal Party would take in the province of Quebec. Not Trudeau politics. This is regional politics, right? And because you had two choices, Parti Québécois, which was, screw the English and every minority group under the sun, unless you're French. Or, but again, I was 16 years old. I was 17 years old. And so with that, we were helped determining the policies that the Quebec Liberal Party was taking to the floor. It sounded great. And if you heard some of these ideas, David, because again, you don't have that 16-year-old anymore. They weren't so outlandish back in our day. You know, we wanted, more freedom. Even back then, we wanted more services that weren't targeted Anglo Francophone ish. However, at the end of the day, it was a way of involving the youth into politics, which is what I think they're trying to do, but a way in which I think the method is madness. Because they're trying, I don't think they should vote. I think they should be part of a party, and the party should listen to the youth to try and help guide them to sensible, logical, socio proper decisions. Because let's face it, this whole concept of allowing the youth to do what they want is kind of blowing up, especially in the state of California, right? Allowing youth to make medical decisions that they should never do. So, again, if you want to trust them to do body mutilation, you want to trust them to pick the next president, you want to trust the youth to do absolutely everything, right? But let's face it, is it the right decision? I don't think so, David.
So look, Stuart, I hear what you're saying. My concern, there's a lot of concerns I have here. Number one is maturity and awareness. And I'll tell you, what I find challenging, and I would love for 16-year-olds to vote. I think it would be great. I'd love to see people more involved in political decisions. I'd love to in a theoretical sense. But no, like I said before, a lot of these 16-year-olds lack maturity to the point, not because I think that they're babies, but that they're just now opening their eyes to certain realities. And when you said it, you want to be involved in the party. You want to get involved in learning about the policies. But to throw a 16-year-old in and say, you go decide without understanding fiscal responsibility, without understanding foreign affairs, without understanding what it means to have a mortgage or whatever. I struggle with 18 to 25-year-olds, and I have 3 of those. Well, one's 26. But, you start to see them now, and when they get to university, they're still utopic. They're still highly influenced by professors. They're still highly jaded in what they want, and it's fine. But they do bring fresh ideas. They do bring a different way of perspective of looking at the world, and that's refreshing in a world where it was always the same old, same old, same old. Mm-hmm. But at 16, Your biggest concern is the pimple on your cheek. The biggest concern was, did I get invited to that party that was happening on the weekend? Social media, Twitter, Snapchat, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, a 16-year-old, I struggle mightily with giving them such power.
Yep.
Now, I know who wants the 16-year-olds to come to vote, and that's the left, because the left's policies, these idyllic concepts and feelings and beautiful sayings and things, when a 16-year-old has no idea, zero idea of reality, this is attractive as hell. And Stuart, for the left, for the left, this is great. This is better than dead people voting, because these are real live people that you could influence. Now, it's the same thing. What happens, why are beer companies and cigarette companies in the past always going after the 18 to 24 category? Because that's when you set your lifelong patterns. Well, if you start them at 16, then you swayed their vote. And I think that this is why so many on the left want this lowering of the age, because, hey, more naive people voting for you, more chance you get voted in.
I got another one. So where they want them to vote in the United States, 16 and 17-year-olds are doing college application, SAT preparatory work, or ACT preparatory work. And I'm going to be honest with you again, if you have that 16, 17-year-old and you've undergone part, if not all of that process, let me tell you, David, I am worn out. I'm worn out.
Yeah, but that's nothing to do with you. That's nothing to do with you. No, but you see, this is not about you.
But no, David, it does. Because most of these kids, unless you pay for a very expensive college person to help, guide them in the process, every child thinks, I'm going to get to Harvard. Right, I'm going to get to Yale.
That's crap. You're. I don't know where you're coming with the shovel, but not every kid thinks they're going to Harvard and Yale. And I'm sorry, you might live a very sheltered life with that statement. But you want to know what? You're right about one thing. 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds.
Pause. I'm right about one thing.
16 and 17-year-olds are now looking at potentially college, potentially university, potentially jobs. Making a few bucks, first car, maybe. A lot of these things, the keys to an election is a very heavy set of responsibilities. And I think that they are not. It would be an interesting test to see what would happen. But I'll be honest with you. To try to get 18 to 25-year-olds to vote is brutal. Imagine now telling 16 and 17-year-olds, welcome aboard. Go bring 16-year-olds to vote. Won't happen. It won't happen as much. And I think that I love the idea in theory. But like you said, if I'm focusing on my GPA and my SATs because I have to try to get into a college, okay, and that's in the United States, and if I'm in Canada, I'm like I said, I'm only going to college or university around 18, 19 years old, then you know what? Yeah, but at 16 years old, when you're in grade 10, like your biggest concern is going out on a date. Your biggest concern could be your grades, not who's running your government.
Yeah, David, I think that, being right once in this quarter hour makes me feel really proud.
Well, Stuart, I'm so happy for your ego, but think about your 16-year-old having to drag your first of all, to educate your 16-year-old and then drag them to a voting box. And then I find this beautiful, not real.
David, drum roll, please. Quarter hour's already come to an end, guys. We saved you. David.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's Stuart, this week's Thanksgiving week in the United States. And so I know a lot of people are going to be out on their vacations. Enjoy it. Us Canadians will continue to work. It's another work week. We don't care about American football, and we don't care about turkeys at this point. We just laugh at the turkeys in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to wish you all a great week. Happy Thanksgiving to all those who are heading off on vacation and all that. And I We'll see you on Wednesday. Take care.